Yeah, it is that time of the week. Welcome into BetQL U here on the BetQL Network. We are here, as always, every week getting you ready for the college basketball weekend ahead. I'm John Martin, as always, joined by RJ Choppy, fresh off of his was that your college basketball color analyst debut? Is that what that was at Tarleton State?
That was my color analyst debut, period. Like of anything. I've never color analyzed anything. I've been a play-by-play guy before. I did for 8 years, and I did TCU women's basketball in the San Juan shootout one year. That was kind of fun. Free trip to Mexico. That was kind of cool. But other than that, that was it. That's it. This is my first men's basketball game that I'd ever done, and I loved every minute of it.
Now, Tarleton ended up winning the game. They were down terrible to start the game against Grand Canyon. Did that game end up going to overtime or no? I know Tarleton State won. Did it go to overtime?
It did not go to overtime. Tarleton won. They had a great comeback, but Tarleton won
in regulation. How about that? And what did we learn? What did we learn about the job? What did we learn about the school and the environment? What was our big takeaway?
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. Like they that's a fun school. Like that's a fun environment. They've got a lot of unique. Tarleton does. They got a lot of unique student groups. Man, like that Grand Canyon team. You could tell that Tynan Grant Foster is a player. Like you could see that he was the best player on the floor. There is no doubt about that. He was the best player on the floor in that game. They just didn't give the ball enough in the second half. Quite simply, like they get this big lead, and it's almost like they went away from them. But yeah, unquestioned, that is that's a tournament team. There is no doubt. Now I don't think they're an at-large team, but they could. I would not want to be in their bracket. I'll tell you that, because if you don't have a dude that's better than him, I mean, he could take that game over.
Now they did storm the court. I mean, our court storming standards are getting lower and lower. It feels like. I mean, I know Grand Canyon's having a really good year, but come on, man,
dude, they hopped right over me. So we were right in front of the student section. It's a cramped arena. Okay, it's a legit. It's a D2 gym. Okay, they're building a new spot down there, a new arena. But this is a legit high school gym. It's smaller than a lot of high school gyms, to be honest with you. And they were right behind us, and they come storming. It got so bad, like I could not see. Looking to my right, I couldn't really see the scoreboard in the second half as the game got close. I couldn't see the corner either. All the students were kind of covering and crowding over us. Could not see. And then they stormed the court, and they jumped the scorer's table. They're jumping over the scorer's table to get on the floor. They're not going around it. They're jumping over this thing. And we're getting some dude's wallet fell right in my lap. Right in my lap. $5 bills everywhere. Okay. $5 bill. I mean, if it was an NBA game, awesome. I'd have hundreds. This had $5 bills everywhere. Just falling all over me. But yeah, it was a fun night, dude. Like I cannot explain how nerve-wracking that was going into it. I was really nervous. And I made some jokes. I sounded like an absolute idiot on a few things. I had no idea what I was talking about. I left that game. I still don't think I know 3 players' names. I still don't. Well, I think I called it an entire game. I blacked out. I think I blacked out the first half. My fiance was there. My co-host, he was there too.
Oh, that's awesome.
He made the drive, and he said, "Do you know what you do?" Because they gave him headsets. He goes, "Do you know you said this?" And I said, "No, I don't remember saying that at all. I have no idea." I said that. Apparently, I talked about this one guy needed to use his leadership and get some rebounds. I don't know what that means. That doesn't make any sense. I don't think I was like, no, I didn't say that. And he played the audio back to me.
This.
I said that. So I take
use
full
your
responsibility.
leadership, man. Not your athleticism, not your physical. Yeah, just use your leadership.
I got a little bit kind of too comfortable though at the end because I got two kids. They're one's a teenager, one's 11 years old. So all the youth slang is embedded in me. And I was describing how this one guy got a rebound, and I was like, "Look at that! There he is using his cake, getting position." And instead of using his backside, I said he was using his cake to get position. And I caught myself.
Yeah. You're definitely as your kids would say, you're chuggy, man. You're so chuggy.
I'm a chuggy. I'm chuggy. That's right.
You're chuggy. But you know what? We don't. It's not often we get a very this blunt of a self-assessment, right? That everybody, like, I will say this, like, and I know we have a whole show to get to, but while we're on the subject, like, I think the true artists, I truly believe this in life. The true artists never really think they do a good job, right? Like the true artists are like, man, I don't even know what I did. I don't even know if that sounded good. I don't know if that it's weird the way it works, right? But like I've read so many times, like the greatest painters, the greatest artists, like think they sucked. Not that you think you sucked, but like, you're not coming in here like, oh man, I absolutely killed that. Like that was like, I just nailed everything I said. You're like, yeah, I was like using 12-year-old slang and I don't remember what I said and leadership to grab a rebound. Like, I think that probably means you did a good job.
Well, I appreciate that. I honestly, like, I was very nervous. But one of the guys I work with who does like Rangers play-by-play, he was like, dude, just be yourself out there. And I was like, well, that's easy. I could sound like an idiot without even trying. I'm probably going to sound like one anyway. So why not just not try? And you'll sound like a more fun idiot than you would.
Be yourself, man. At the end of the day, I would rather lose trying to be myself than anything else. If I lose, I lose, but at least I did it being me. So kudos to you. Congrats. Looking forward to more. I did tune in for the second half a little bit just to, show some support. Sounded good to me. So and Tarleton got the win. So all's well that ends well. It's been a good week. It's been a good couple of weeks for RJ Choppy as the Volunteers, Tennessee Volunteers, as we pivot to college basketball. They get it done at home over Auburn earlier this week. And the key reason why these Vols are where they are in the seed line and in the polls, Dalton Connect, 39 points from him, 12 of 21 from the field, 5 of 8 from 3. Obviously, next game against Alabama. But is this the reason why, if you feel differently about the Vols, RJ, is he the reason why?
Oh, yeah. That was a special performance he had against Auburn, man. Like he was best player on the floor. He was best player in the country. Like let's be real. Like I know Zach Edey's probably going to win the thing. Dalton's the best player in the country. I don't know that there's anybody else that comes close. I don't know who to compare him to. Like he's
right.
He's like he's not the fastest guy in the world, right? He's not the speediest. He's like Luka without the passing. Like that's, he's not, because he doesn't pass. But that's like, the guy's just amazing. And that is the difference between this year's Tennessee team and every other Tennessee team that's ever lived under Rick Barnes or even previous, that they've got a guy that could take over a game. And, they've had NBA players before, Grant Williams, NBA player. And they probably should have done better than they did. But, Grant Williams is not a star. He's a role guy. And that's it. And I think Dalton's got a chance to be just a better player. I mean, he can shoot like crazy, shoot up the one-on-one. He doesn't have to have somebody get him the ball. He could get the ball himself. And I think that really matters in this tournament.
Yeah, Tennessee over at BetMGM minus 125 to win the SEC. Alabama right behind minus 110. It just obviously feels like that's going to be decided, this weekend in Tuscaloosa, at least a good portion of it. So I guess that's going to be probably a pick, maybe Alabama's slight favorite. But, look, this is what I truly believe about college basketball as we are in March now, I don't think there are many teams that can win the championship. I just don't. I don't think there are. I mean, because I think once you get past the 5 seed, I think it's really, really bad. I think it's really bleak, actually. Like in terms of teams that are credible and have, a pedigree and I just don't think there are many teams. I think Tennessee is probably one of the very few that I could see, because what I really want to say and what I will say is that it feels like 07, 08. It feels like a chalky year to me, where it's going to be the top 4. Like that's going to be your final 4. Houston, Purdue, UConn. Maybe Tennessee could beat an Arizona on a neutral, right? I think that's kind of the 4th spot is up for grabs, but I just don't really see this being a year. We love to say it's wide open, right, RJ? We love to say, I don't really think it's that wide open. I don't think there are that many teams that can really push for it. I think Tennessee, again, is one, but Alabama can't guard. So Alabama's not, even as their top 10 team, I don't take them seriously as a national championship contender. I just can't. I know Mark Sears is having a great year, but I don't take them seriously as a contender. Tennessee, what I do like about them is that it Connect gets all the headlines, and deservedly so, but I'm a huge fan of the steadiness that Zakai Ziegler brings game to game. He can score it too, man. I mean, he's had his nights, and they just guard. So they help them out if they, and carry them really offensively. So I don't know, RJ. I just think it feels to me like a very chalky year with that 4th spot being up for grabs. Arizona, Tennessee, those are the kind of teams.
Yeah. And look, there's going to be some questions about Arizona because, like, the Pac-12 is going to be, what, a 2-bid league, 3-bid league? And the SEC is going to have 7, 8. There's a chance at a 9th team, depending on how things fall. So, like, if you have 2 teams that are even, relatively even, and it could be, Tennessee or Arizona relatively even, and you got to throw Kansas in there, but like, how do you take the team from the 2-bid league over the team from the 7 or 8-bid league as the final number 1? That just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And if you're not going to do that, then you should put the team that is that misses out the top 2 seed. You should put them with that other team in their division. That's probably how it should work. But I don't know how they're going to wind up shaking it out. Everybody I've seen has Tennessee on the 2 line. I haven't seen them on the 1 seed line. Now, look, they've got a tough – they play South Carolina still, Alabama, Kentucky.
Right.
If they win out these final 3 games, it's going to be very, very hard to keep them off the 1 line. Very hard.
Yeah, I agreed. I think it's one of those things where the SEC is typically never revered as a basketball league, but I think that's an outdated perception. I think the SEC is really freaking good this year. I mean, I think, you just named them. I mean, Auburn, Tennessee, South Carolina, Alabama, Kentucky. I mean, those are 5 really freaking good teams right there that I just named off the top of my head. Mississippi State, was controlling that game. They were up 52-39 against Kentucky in the second half. They were controlling the game. You have, to me, a lot of teams that can make a second weekend. But this feels like the SEC never gets that, they don't ever really get that respect nationally because, college basketball fans are so hung up on Big East, and Big 12. But the SEC, to me, has done a great job. And Florida's in there now, too. Florida's back under Todd Golden, right? So I think there's a lot of, there's a lot of improvements that have been made to that league. They focused on upgrading their basketball over the years. They did that. And it wouldn't shock me, RJ, if, there is a representative in the SEC in the Final Four.
Dude, you mentioned those 5 teams. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if any of those 5 teams are in the Final Four. I mean, I think the conference is absolutely going to have a Final Four team. I mean, there's too many good teams for them to miss out. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in the same division as Kentucky. I would not want to be in the same Alabama defensively. I mean, I think you can get by them. South Carolina's a nasty team. Auburn is a very good team. And, Tennessee is going to have arguably the best player of the tournament or one of the 3 or 4 best players of the tournament. Their problem is they never win. Like we just never win, man. Like I'm waiting. I'm wondering. I'm self-preparing myself. Like, how's it going to happen this year? Like, what's going to happen this year for us to get beat by Florida Atlantic, or watch it be Robbie Avila and Indiana State? How's it going to happen this year?
There you go. That's it. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right?
Dude,
that's
you know what?
Good.
Lenardi and Palm already came out with it. That's the one seed of nicknames. Stop. Nobody can ever have a nickname again, ever in the history of sports.
You got that right, brother. You got that right. All right, we'll come back. We'll take a look at some of the games this weekend. Get into what side of this we may like, all that and more. You're watching BetQL U on the BetQL Network. Back after this. Welcome back to BetQL U here on the BetQL Network, getting you ready for the college basketball weekend slate ahead. I'm John Martin, joined tonight by college basketball color analyst RJ Choppy, as always. Hey, before we get into the weekend slate, I want to tell you about the fast break free to play over at BetMGM. So here's how it works. Once a day, you can play the BetMGM free-to-play BetMGM Fast Break for a chance to win daily prizes. Play as the point guard, choose a pass to Kevin Garnett, pass to Jalen Rose, or take it in for yourself for a dunk. And if you score, you get a prize. Free-to-play promotion for BetMGM Sportsbook. BetMGM Sportsbook account holders who play our BetMGM Fast Break will have the opportunity to win a reward if they scored a basket. So there you go in the BetMGM app. All right, at this point, going to welcome in our man and producer and friend, Zac Kroll, to help us get ready for the college basketball weekend slate. We're going to do this a little differently, Zac. What do you have up your sleeve here?
Yeah, guys. So I wanted to give a shout out to my guy, Mario Harron. He spent a little bit of time EPing BetQL Daily in the morning this past week, and he came up with an idea for a little bit of a game to preview the college basketball weekend slate that I loved, and I figured we'd bring it here to BetQL U. It is called Bounce Back versus Building Block. And we know in the sport of college basketball, and when we bet this sport, it is all about the spot. And there are some spots that are bounce back, a team that is trying to bounce back, that just lost a big game. They're trying to regain some momentum. And there are other spots where a team is coming off a big win and they're trying to build on that. Marquette is just a team that comes to mind. They are playing great basketball right now, fresh off a big win over Providence. And we're going to get to them a little bit later in this segment. But I wanted to focus on three of the main games this weekend, and if we are classifying the teams playing in them as a bounce back spot or a building block spot. And the first game we will look at is a battle in the SEC. We spoke about it a little bit earlier in the first segment. We will have number 4 Tennessee going to number 14 Alabama, with really the SEC championship on the line. The Ken Pom projection right now is Tennessee -2. The over-under projection is minus 168, I should say, 168.5. And both of these teams are coming off of victories last night. We spoke about Tennessee and just how good they looked against Auburn, but also Alabama. They bounced back nicely after they lost to Kentucky over the weekend. They went into Oxford and beat Ole Miss last night. So, RJ, because it's your Vols, I'll start with you. Tennessee at Alabama. How are you feeling about this one this weekend?
Look, Alabama is one of those teams that I think this is going to be an absolutely massively high scoring game. Tennessee's putting up 80, 90 points a night. It seems like when they're going well. Problem is, I don't think their offense flows as well on the road. This is absolutely a game that they win. I think they got a real chance at a 1 seed. So this is obviously it's a building block game for both teams. But I mean, man, I'll tell you, like, Alabama really is one of those that they scare me. Like, I don't know what to make of them, because I think on any given night they could put 100 up against you. Like, literally on any given night, they're going to chuck the 3 left and right. And then if they get a shred of defense, they're tough to beat, especially in that building. Like, that's not a building that, and again, Tennessee did play great on the road. They fell asleep against Missouri on the road. They really did. They got destroyed by A&M on the road. This one scares me. That's why I think the Auburn win was so important for them, because they're not the greatest road team.
John?
Yeah, I see that the KenPom projection is Tennessee -2, but I'd be really surprised if that's what this winds up being. I mean, I think Alabama's going to be the favorite. I think Alabama probably should be the favorite. What you've seen a lot in college basketball this year is having to pay top dollar for these kinds of spots, right? The home team. You're not getting home dogs anymore. It feels like home court advantage is like worth 6 points now in college basketball. I feel like I've laid 7.5, 8.5, 9.5. Creighton last night, perfect example. I'm like, damn, man, I got to lay, or earlier this week, excuse me, I got to lay 9.5 just to get involved with Creighton against Seton Hall. I mean, and this is that was a revenge spot for Seton Hall. I still had to lay 9.5, with Creighton, but there's a tax. There's a tax on these kinds of spots. And so, yeah, I think Alabama wins. I think they get it done at home. And I think they'll be the favorite. So a building block for Bama.
It's important to realize, too, that these two teams played earlier in the season in Knoxville. Tennessee really dominated that one from start to finish, so we will see if we will have a different result here. The next game I wanted to get to is in the Big 12, and we will have Kansas, fresh off a shocking loss on Tuesday night to BYU. They're ranked number 7 right now, and they will be going on the road to Waco to take on number 15 Baylor. Now, Baylor is a team that had a pretty interesting week. They played a classic game against Houston on Saturday, a heartbreaking loss in overtime, but I was pretty impressed with the way they were able to bounce back on Monday night going into Fort Worth and beating a red-hot TCU team. Now, it's also important to remember, too, that it doesn't look like Kansas is going to have Kevin McCullough in this game. The Jayhawks, they don't have a lot of depth to begin with, and they're going to be missing one of their best players going into this one. That's not ideal. KenPom projects this right now to be Baylor -5, the over-under to be 147.5. John, I'll keep it with you. How are we betting this one?
Yeah, I like Baylor and the under, for all those reasons. I mean, this Kansas team is just not nearly the same. I mean, their season really peaked when it was one of the best wins of the season. And I was on the wrong side of it, to be completely honest with you, when they just undressed Houston, and they just have not been the same team since then. And obviously that's a big, it's influenced a lot by injury. It's the fact that Bill Self, I don't think, did a great job of constructing this roster. I mean, you're clearly hoping that Nick Timberlake, when you bring him in from Towson, and look, Nick Timberlake, I watched some Towson last year. All right. I thought Nick Timberlake was going to be a damn good player at this level, and he struggled, and it's a cautionary tale when you reach down to those levels and you ask to come play in the Big 12, the SEC, the Power 5. It is very difficult to do that, and it's hard to expect the same kind of results in production. But this Baylor team was a free throw away from beating Houston, last weekend. So I think this Baylor team is playing its best basketball. I think they're a team I could see, making a random run that nobody's really talking about, maybe find a way to get to the Elite Eight. And I just think Kansas is reeling right now. So Baylor is the only way that I could look in this game. And I would also probably get involved with the under.
Man, I agree. I think Baylor's the play here. Kansas is not a good road team. Like, just go down most of their losses. Obviously, the BYU game was a home game they lost. They lose at Tech by dang near 30. They lose at K-State. They lose at Iowa State, which is a good team, by the way. They lose at West Virginia. West Virginia they couldn't beat Air if they were playing a game against Air. That's how bad they are. UCF, they lose on the road to them. This is just not a very good road team. I am all over Baylor on this one. I don't know if they cover the 5. I definitely think Baylor wins this game. I like John's talk on the under, but I think this is a Baylor game. Baylor wins.
The Big 12, we all know it's the best league, but I think it's going to be very interesting to see how a lot of these teams end up doing in March. You just have that group of teams in the middle, like TCU and Baylor and Texas Tech. Texas has been playing really well. I don't really know if there's a team in that group that I'm looking at and saying, okay, I really think they're going to make a deep run. But I just feel like all those teams in the middle are jumbled together.
Yeah. I think again, once you get past Houston, which we probably have not talked enough about. I know they're the number one team in the country, but the idea that Houston comes from the AAC, okay, and in the first year, kind of runs away with the Big 12. Like Kelvin, the idea that Kelvin Sampson has not gotten a serious offer from another school is crazy to me. The guy, I think, pound for pound is, dare I say it, the best coach in the country. I mean, I don't know who out there is doing it better than Kelvin.
I don't disagree with that. I think he's fantastic. Kelvin's got issues. I mean, look, Kelvin's been at big programs before. I mean, and he's been at OU. He's been at Indiana. But look, Houston is now a big program. He doesn't need to go anywhere. I mean, he's in the Big 12. Like, doesn't get much
That's
bigger
true.
than that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, if Houston was
still
still
I'm just saying, he should be a blue blood, right? Like, yes. Blue blood should try to hire him,
Look, yeah, if Cal quits, like, Kentucky should absolutely go get him. And I think they would. Yep. I think he's a perfect fit at Kentucky, right? I don't know that Carolina or Duke would go after him. There's a little bit of baggage, even though that baggage is from a bygone era of the sport.
No question.
Kentucky doesn't care about that. If I was Arkansas, I'd be all over him. Arkansas is a program that hasn't done anything. Like, I would be all over. I think he is a fantastic coach. I just don't know that he needs to go anywhere. Maybe he loves Houston. People like Houston. I don't like you. I think Houston sucks. But
that's that Dallas Fort Worth snobbery coming out right there. Worth,
Houston rivalry, baby. That's right. North Texas represent.
Hey, they got CJ Stroud though. All right, they're fine. They got CJ. They'll live with it, man.
That's right. That's right.
All right, the last game I wanted to hit on is in the Big East, and these are going to be two really good teams going at it on Saturday afternoon. We have number 5 Marquette. They're red hot. They've won their last 3 games in a row and also 9 of their last 10. Of course, the one game they lost during that stretch was that blowout loss at UConn a couple weeks ago, and they'll be going on the road to Creighton. They're ranked number 12 right now. They had a little bit of a disappointing loss on Sunday at St. John's, but they're another team that besides that, they've been playing great. We remember what they did to UConn on the other end of the spectrum, and they looked really good on Wednesday night against Seton Hall. Right now, the KenPom projection is Creighton -4. The over-under projection is 150.5. RJ, I'll throw it over to you. Who do you like in Marquette Creighton?
I like Creighton in this one. If this game was in Marquette or on a neutral site, I'd probably take Marquette. But this is a it's a home game for Creighton. I'm going to take the Blue Jays here. They're a good team, and I also don't discount the fact that there's probably a decent chance that Marquette is looking ahead to next week where they take on UConn. So I do, and I know this is not a look ahead game, and Marquette really could kill their seeding if they wind up dropping both of these. They could really kill their spot and where they are. I guess what they're on the 2 line most places now. I think they might drop to 3. But I think it's just a tough spot. Like I think it's a really impossible game. You're going on the road 4 days before you take on UConn at home. It's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, I agree.
John?
I agree with what RJ said about Creighton. I think Marquette is like every time they punch up, every time they try to, join a different weight class in the year 2024. I know they beat Illinois early in the year. I know they beat Kansas a long time ago. They haven't done anything since 2024. Had a chance against UConn, got drilled, got run off the floor embarrassingly. Creighton is absolutely peaking. I mean, they look like a team that's going to do it again. They're going to go to the Elite Eight again, and maybe this time they get a little bit better luck and find a way to get to the Final Four. And I've been very down on this Creighton team at times, but Ashworth has finally settled in and is making it feels like 80% of his threes. Trey Alexander, we know, is the initiator of the offense. Kalkbrenner is a matchup nightmare. I just feel like this Creighton team is playing its best basketball right now, and I just don't really believe in Marquette. I never have. So I like, and plus Creighton knows them. So give me Creighton at home all day.
One last thought on the Big East before we get out of here. This conference just has a ridiculous amount of bubble teams right now. You have teams like St. John's and Seton Hall and Providence and Villanova really all fighting for tournament bids. Is there any team in that group we look at and we'll pick out and say, okay, I like them the most to separate and make a big run into March? Is there anyone that stands out?
Not really for me. I mean, UConn and Creighton are the ones for me. Everybody else is for my money a non-factor. I just feel like we talk too much about the Big East as a sport.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. We do talk too much about them. I mean, they're given so many advantages. I mean, look, I get it. It's the Big East tournament's fun. I love the setup, the backdrop of the Garden. It's fantastic. That aspect of it is great. But I mean, once the ACC came in there and pillaged half the teams, I mean, it just became a different. Jay Wright's gone. Villanova's not Villanova anymore, and it's just it's not the same as it used to be. There was a time where it was the best, and that tournament was massive. I mean, it had 16 teams in it, and every single one of them felt like they could actually win the thing, except for maybe Rutgers. But different era. It's gone now, man. It's gone.
Yep. So anyway, yeah, good stuff, Zach. Appreciate you jumping in, and helping us look ahead to the weekend. We only got two more of these in the regular season, and then it is postseason time, baby. So I'm ready for it. I think a lot of teams are ready for it, RJ. But there's still a few intriguing matchups before we get to conference tournament play. All right, we'll come back, and as we continue to look ahead to the postseason and this weekend, get into one of the sneakiest fun leagues of the season. That's the Mountain West, or as I like to call it, the Mountain Best. Do that when we come back. You're watching BetQL U on the BetQL Network. Back after this.
Let's get back to BetQL U, presented by BetMGM.
All right, welcome back to BetQL U on the BetQL Network. We know the traditional leagues with history, who are storied, who are always in the mix in March. We know about the Big East. We know about the Big 12. We know about the ACC. We know about the SEC. And the Big 10. We'll just go ahead and round it out. But one league, RJ, that I find really entertaining, I mean, really, really entertaining throughout the week, is the Mountain West. Now, the Mountain West, I think, has a chance to get 6 bids. And what's funny about that is that this league is really perfect at doing each other a solid. Like, just when their opponent really needs a win to sort of spruce up their resume, there's a lot of cooperation, it feels like sometimes. Like, perfect example was Colorado State and Nevada this past week. Nevada's there at Colorado State. They're big underdogs. They're missing their second leading scorer. They win on the road at Colorado State on a ridiculous Hail Mary buzzer beater after actually really collapsing at the end. So that's just one example. But the way I want to ask this question to you, RJ, is this league is fun. They take advantage of Friday nights. There's usually a pretty good game on a Friday night. But is it all invalidated if the Mountain West doesn't have a team that makes a run? Like, if all these teams go out in the first and second round, does it all make it invalidated? Or what's the right way to look at the quality of a league in college basketball?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't think that you have to have a deep run by some team in the Final Four or make the Final Four to validate your conference. I mean, does San Diego State making the final game validate Nevada?
Right.
That's, I mean, I guess in a roundabout way, it kind of does. I know SEC football fans think it does. Everybody cheers on Bama and Georgia every year. I mean, I see that, but I think the course of the season, your non-conference schedule, your non-conference records, a lot of your individual metrics, I think that plays more in a one and done NCAA tournament. We know it's a crapshoot. like, we know that, like, we should never look at oh man, that coach can't win, or that team can never win. I mean, how much of the NCAA tournament's all about your draw? It's all about your draw. Some programs are just better suited, a little bit luckier. They just play better. They're just better programs too. Right. And then when you're a program, when you're relying on Nevada or Utah State or San Diego State or New Mexico, I mean, these aren't Colorado's. These are traditional powers. They have guys that they're losing players left and right to other their feeder programs at times. And I don't know that it's fair to the Mountain West to dock them if they all finish as 9 to 12 seeds, 8 to 12 seeds, and they run into bad matchups. I mean, if they just run into bad matchup, like, what are you going to do? Like, you just tip your cap, move on. Like, you lost the game to a better team. Like, I don't think it invalidates it if they don't have a deep run. I mean, ask me that same question on March 18th after the brackets come out on that Sunday.
No, I agree. I mean, look, I think it's you're talking about a 6-game sample, and I think it's also okay to enjoy a league and have fun with a league, without having to inject some crazy, that's the nature of the tournament. It just is. And so I don't really think there is validation one way or the other. I think like you said, I think there's validation of a team. I think there's validation of but I don't think there's like San Diego State made the championship game last year. We weren't talking about, the Mountain West, man, damn, what a league that was. It's just, and you will hear that though. I mean, you will hear if they flame out, you will hear that the Mountain West is unserious. But that's probably just par for the course at this point. And look, I don't think there's any contender in it. I mean, I don't. Realistically speaking, I don't think San Diego State has enough offense. Utah State, I just don't take seriously. Colorado State, to me, I will be looking to fade them first round. I think there's a real chance the 11 seed, if they are, or excuse me, the 10 seed, if they are a 7, I think there's a real chance the 10 is favored. Boise State, I actually like because they are older, but, I don't know if the firepower is there, and I don't know if they can guard. They always seem to have trouble with teams that are super athletic. And then Nevada and New Mexico are just to me, there are teams that are good at home, and you take them away from that environment. And that's the funny thing about the Mountain West. Like, they're all kind of the same. Every team's the same damn team. It's like they're all really great at home, and you take them away from home, and they kind of shrink. So at any rate, I don't think there's a contender here. I wouldn't get involved with the future on any of these teams. In fact, I'd probably be looking, like I said, to fade some of them in the first round. But I look, if you're the Mountain West, you're happy to get 6. If that's the way it goes, you are absolutely happy to get 6 in the NCAA tournament. All right, go ahead if you have a point on that.
I think getting the amount of teams you get far more validates the conference than the runs those teams go on. Right. In the tournament. Right. I mean, the selection can it's subjective, but that's their job, is to pick the best teams. I know it's imperfect, but I never thought that what the team does at the tournament means, they got in over this team that got snubbed and they shouldn't have. I don't know that it validates it. I think just getting in validates the conference.
Yeah, no, I think that's well said. That's well said. All right, I do want to hit some news because we are a college football show as well. That I know we're going to 12, but it feels like we're about to. That's going to be a brief stop, right, RJ? Like, the question is, where does it stop? Where does college football playoff expansion stop?
I don't know where it stops, man. Obviously, it doesn't stop at 12 because we haven't even done a 12-team playoff.
You're exactly right.
And we're already talking about expanding it. The newest, the latest is that they want to expand to 14 teams. You have 3 automatic qualifiers. The SEC will be guaranteed 3 teams. The Big Ten guaranteed 3 teams. The ACC guaranteed 2. The Big 12 guaranteed 2. The Group of 5 guaranteed 1. And then 3 at-large bids. And like I hate having a set number on. I don't like divisions in sports. Like geography should not play a role in who makes the postseason. I don't think geography should have anything to do with it. If the 12 or 14 best teams are in the Big Ten, then that's who should be in the tournament. Not, well, the SEC's got to have 3 and the Big 12's got to. No, the 14 best are in the SEC. Like that, I'm sorry. Like, play better. And I love, and I don't want this to be a charity case either. Like, what if the best group of 5 is like the 30th ranked team? Like, should they get in over the 14th? I don't think so. Like, I'm sorry. Like, Tulane, you were in the SEC. You had your chance. You left on your own. Like, I don't know. Where does it stop? 16, 64? What's the FBS tournament? What's the? I'm sorry.
No, I mean that's exactly. Like I know we've I wish we had fans of the sport in charge, as opposed to people that are just driven by more dollars. Because I feel like if we did, there would be a balance somehow, and we're not even concerned with that at this point for either of those sports.
No, we're not. It's about money. It's just about money. But does it make, like, again, we had this problem, before the NIL and the transfer portal. Like every Final Four game was 2 touchdowns or more, like 17 points. And then we get the portal in there and everything kind of, becomes a little bit more competitive. Well, after a while, aren't we going to go back? Let's just say they go to 16 teams, no buys. Mm-hmm. They're all at neutral sites. I mean, that's just the NFL, man. It's the NFL with lesser athletes. That's all it is. I don't know that I want to see that. I think there needs to be you are absolutely going to lose the regular season. Absolutely. Right. There's no. The reason that everybody watches college football on a Saturday is because if you missed the OU Texas game, you may have missed the chance of the last meaningful game your team played all year, because the loser of that game is probably out. Well, that's not going to be the case anymore.
Yeah, man. I'm glad for my AAC brethren that there's at least a spot for the group of 5, but I agree with you. It's like, and in college basketball is going to run into the same thing. You just devalue things. If you're going to let 80 teams in the NCAA tournament or whatever it is, 96 teams, like, why are we playing a regular season, man? For what?
Yeah.
I mean, let's do a 3-week season. Let's do a 3-week season or a month-long season, and then we'll seed it based on that. And here's what you could do. You just cut out non-conference. And again, like, they won't happen because of the revenue, but it's like you're playing these games for no reason. Like a whole ass third of the country is getting in the tournament at 96, basically. So yeah, and with football, it's like, if you let 14 in or however many in, there's only going to be 4 or 5 real contenders, as always anyway. But again, TV, money, this is the world and the sandbox that we play in. And it's never going to change, no matter how much it hurts the sport. So I hate to end on that note, but I can't stand it. I can't stand any of it. All right, it's going to do it for us today in this week's edition of BetQL U on the BetQL Network. Everybody enjoy the games this weekend. For RJ Choppy, for Zac Kroll, I'm John Martin. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us for a little bit today, and we'll see you next week right here on the BetQL Network.
You've been listening to BetQL U, presented by BetMGM. If you missed any of the show, listen back anytime on the new and improved Odyssey app.